Hello again, and welcome to the Barbara H. Smith Show. I am your host, and I am so excited to be here today with you. You know, it is a wonderful time to be alive with all of the information technology we have available to us, and I have some new information I want to share with you. Unleash the Speaker Within is a mastermind class that I am doing, and I want you to show up 8 a.m. on Tuesday, next Tuesday, so that you get a sneak peek of what Barbara H. Smith is working on. That's 8 a.m. Eastern Standard Time for the Unleash the Speaker Within. If you are trying to level up your speaking, if you are in front of audiences that you're trying to engage, that you're trying to motivate, that you're trying to encourage, you don't want to miss the premiere of Unleash the Speaker Within right here with me. I'm Barbara H. Smith, and I am your hostess for today. I'm so excited. We have a wonderful show, as always. But today, we have a phenomenal speaker. She has been a champion on and off the court for more than 30 years, a former Procter & Gamble and beauty sales executive. She built Fran Harris Enterprises, LLC. So you guessed it, it's Fran Harris. It's a formidable training, coaching, consulting company with all kinds of clients, from 70 Fortune 100 companies, top universities, startups, organizations in over 10 countries. She is amazing. Since 1995, she's authored not 5, not 10, but 15 books, and she's taught business and marketing online. She is a former ESPN and Fox Sports announcer, HGTV host, a speaker in firms in the UK. Fran's business and marketing and thought leadership is known worldwide. She's landed television shows on almost every major network. Of course, NBC, CNBC, CNN, Fox Business, TLC, Comedy Central. She's got quite a sense of humor, by the way. And she's led the University of Texas to its first and only NCAA championship with a 34-0 record. I don't want to prolong this lady coming to the platform. I want to introduce you to Fran Harris.
Did you know that you could turn your knowledge, expertise, or experiences into a 5, 6, or even 7-figure revenue stream in the next 12 months? It's true. Hey, I'm Fran Harris, and over the past 20 years, I've taught speakers, coaches, trainers, and consultants how to monetize their expertise and sell high-ticket programs by investing fewer than 10 hours a week, or in some cases, not even quitting their day job. My students and I have also been featured in local and national media, such as Good Morning America, The Today Show, CNN, CNBC, MSNBC, and even Shark Tank. Yes, even Shark Tank.
Hello, Sharks. I'm Fran Harris from Dallas, Texas. Yeah!
And now it's your turn. If you want to learn how to turn what you know into dough, schedule a free, no obligation blueprint call with me today. And just so you know, this free offer is for the serious, not the curious. Go now to doughu.com to schedule your free, no obligation blueprint call. That's doughu.com. doughu.com.
Let's go!
So, Fran Harris, what's up? What's up?
Listen, that introduction, I'm telling you, I need to hire you as my hype woman. That nobody has ever introduced me with such passion and fire. And I was like, let's go. I literally let's go. So good to see you again, Barbara.
Good to see you, and I'm all in for being your hype. Let me tell you, I am so serious about that, Fran. So stop playing with me. So glad to see you again.
Great to see you. I have to ask you real quickly before we get started. What's the H for, honey? What's the H? What's the H for in the Barbara in your brand?
Well, what happened is my full name is Barbara Ann Holmes Smith. Right? How many Barbaras do you know?
Yeah.
How many Barbara Anns do you know?
A lot. Yep.
And so what happened to me is I ended up having my dental records mixed up, my IRS records got mixed up. And so I said, I got to do something about this. And so people want us to put a hyphen in there. It's not a hyphen. It's just Holmes because I need something in the middle. So that's the age. That's the age.
Nice. You can play with that. Hunger, hustle. I mean, you can play with that. With that. Just saying.
So I want to give a shout out to one of my students, former students, James B. Snipes III is out there. So proud of you too. My God, thank you for being out there. Listen, Fran, I know you've got lots of stuff going on. So tell our audience, what are you working on right now? Some huge, huge projects.
So if you're a fan of Shark Tank, you may have seen me on Shark Tank in January, and then my episode ran again in March. I just launched a new better for you functional hydration drink company called Electra. And it is all about putting something better in your body than what's in the sports drinks category. We all know who the Titans are in that category. We're not going to give them any pub on Barbara H. Smith's show, but y'all know who the big guns are in the sports drink category. So we've just created something that's less sugar, fewer calories, much more stuff that's good for you, putting into your body, vitamins, amino acids, antioxidants, less sugar, 6 or 7 grams of sugar compared to 35. Very proud of that. And that's what I'm working on. That's one of the big projects that I'm working on right now is my Electra company. I can't hear you. I don't know. I'm sure it's great what you're saying, but I couldn't hear you.
I'm glad you said that. I don't know. This is Liddy Lemonade, and it is really tasty. It doesn't have sugar, but it is tasty. It doesn't. Gatorade, those people. I don't like it.
Exactly.
I can't drink it. I just can't drink it. And plus, it raises your blood pressure, right?
Yep. Blood sugar too. Mm-hmm.
It's got a lot of sugar. And they haven't changed the formula in how many years, Fran?
50 plus years. That's when sports drinks really came onto the scene. And Gatorade obviously was the leader in that. Thank you very much for doing a lot of research and giving us the opportunity to see that there is an opportunity for something better and different. But yeah, 50 years, y'all. If you think about that, 50 years and not a lot of innovation, a lot of great commercials, but not a lot of innovation in the sports drink category over the last 50 or so years.
And that's amazing that you jumped into the market and you are doing well. And we just found out that you are in a retail store, right?
Yeah, so we started after Shark Tank. We were D2C, direct to consumer, and really wanted to just get some data. That's what you need when you start a new company. You need data. You need proof that people also thought it was a good idea, not just your mother and your cousins. So we got a little bit of data and attracted a retailer, the largest retailer in Texas, which is called H-E-B. We will launch in mid-May in 173 H-E-B stores. That's over half of their stores in Texas. So a large footprint all over the state. We're very excited about it. It gives me the opportunity potentially to hire, give some folks some jobs ultimately within the last half of this year. And just to create a company where, again, we're competing against the Titans, multi-billion-dollar marketing budgets. And already we're starting to see that we have the opportunity to cut into some of that market share.
And that is amazing that you are doing that. And tell us about your experience when you went against the Sharks.
So got on Shark Tank, knew, when you pitch anybody, it doesn't matter who the VCs are, who the investors are, your friends, family, whatever, you always need to be prepared for the things that they're going to say to you that might not be so flattering, that might fly in the face of what you thought you were going to hear from those investors. And that's good. You want people to tell you what could possibly go wrong. Overall, the experience was absolutely amazing. Because I walked out of there with the deal. But the great part of that was that I got to hear a lot of objections. Mr. Wonderful was like, why in the world would you go into a sports drink category and get crushed by the behemoths in the category? You will never make it. And I just had fun with it. I was like, listen, I've already thought of that. Here's what we're doing about the bottles. He was like, why would you ship bottles? Bottles are so expensive. Again, you can't be rattled by the naysayers out there. You can't be rattled by the folks who don't think that what you're doing, your great idea, is going to work. But honestly, overall, it was so much fun. And I always tell people, if you get on Shark Tank, you've already won. I mean, honestly, 8 to 9 million viewers every show. Wow. You've already won. So as long as you know what to do with that exposure, you can make it work for you, even if you don't get a deal.
That's so awesome. I know that you're working on some real estate ventures. Let's talk about that some.
Yeah, real wealth. You know, we don't historically we haven't talked a whole lot about wealth building in our, you know, in our families and our cultures or whatever. We know that in each of our families, we've probably had people who've had their land stolen. But when I started to really realize the power of having earth, having ground to build something on, which I was in my 30s when I did my first real estate transaction, I started to really get a sense for what it meant, not to just, you know, renting is fine, but make sure you own something as well. Make sure you can put a pitchfork in the ground and say, this is mine, because that's where the wealth really starts. But anyway, my oldest brother, Alonzo, has been in the real estate game for 40 plus years, has always been doing deals, flipping, wholesale, whatever. We're doing a lot of commercial stuff now. We decided to joint venture, get into business together about 4 years ago to start building sports facilities, right? So we started doing the research about, you guys have probably seen these youth like Boo Williams over there in Virginia, these big conglomerates that have volleyball courts and basketball courts and those kinds of things. So we started looking at that near our hometown of Dallas and have gotten to the point where now we're about to develop 2 or 3 of those. And one of the things I was saying to you, Barbara, earlier was we typically, meaning Black folks, typically are on the back end of these kinds of developments. So we come in after it's been built, you know, and spend all of our money in there, send our kids to play in tournaments every weekend for $300, buying sneakers and all this stuff. But we're not typically owners of those kinds of things. And so I'm on a mission to make sure we are not only at the table at the meeting, but that we're eating from that buffet of real estate. And so we're doing, you know, some crowdfunding, and we're looking for investors all over the country who want to be owners in sports facilities, not just patrons and consumers in sports facility. And here's the one thing I want to say: get in where you fit in. You don't have to put $1 million on the table. Think about this. If you put in, let me just give you a number, you know, 10 grand here and then 5 grand there and then 20 grand there, but you're part owner of 4 or 5 or 10 or 20 sports facilities, you are building wealth, right? You don't have to own all of it, because you probably heard the famous thing, it's better to have a little bit of a watermelon than everything, all of a grape, right? And sometimes we have to get out of the mindset of, well, I don't really own that. Listen, if you got 1% of a $100 million company or $100 million facility, you're doing something. If you've got 2%, you know, of a $20,000, 20 million, you're doing something. So you build wealth incrementally. It's not always just getting it and owning everything at one time. So I'm trying to get more of us at the sports facility, in fact, not even just sports facilities, but at the commercial real estate table.
Yes, commercial real estate is where it's at, sure, right? And so you're doing the facilities. You got the electro drink going on.
That's the facilities. Yep.
What else is going on in the life?
Well, today, it's funny you say that. Today, I actually, because I've got a real creative side. I've been writing books, but I've also been writing novels and writing screenplays and doing documentaries. So today I actually cast a couple of people for a new play that I am premiering in Dallas in July. I actually did this play. I wrote this play, oh man, what are we, 2021? At least a decade ago. I wrote the screenplay at least a decade ago. Then I went to Dallas and did it for the first time in like 2010 or something like that. And then just kind of put it away. I don't want to say something about putting it away. It's really good. We sold out, but I put it away and went on to something else. Then last year in Virginia, ironically, because I know that's where some of our viewers are, I dusted it off, cast it, and did it in Charlottesville, Virginia. Sold out within like 2 or 3 weeks. And then COVID hit. And so we had to shut down the performances, and we were actually going to do a tour. But it's a play. It's going to be a movie, actually, about a gangster rapper who, on the eve of his biggest audition, finds out that he can't curse because his daughter prayed and asked God to remove those words from his arsenal. So it is hilarious. And it's, you know, the message is on point because it makes us, as people who love rap music or who love illicit lyrics or whatever we like to be, but sometimes we know the words aren't really what they should be. Well, we got a 9-year-old in this play and ultimately movie who's saying, Daddy, are you really saying this? Are you talking to me when you're singing these lyrics? So wow. I can't wait for you guys to see it. It's going to be amazing.
So when you're doing this play is it going to premiere in Virginia first? Is that where
it's going to premiere in Dallas in July? Yeah.
Okay.
fly, and then off we go. I think the country will open up a little bit. I actually spoke to someone and exchanged emails today with someone in Louisa, which is near Charlottesville, today, because we were going to do it there last spring, and then the country shut down. So we're already starting to pick up Atlanta. We have about 6 or 7 cities already on the schedule, on the tour.
So the actors in the tour, are they traveling around, or are you picking up people as you go along?
Great question. And the reason that's a great question, because I loved my Virginia cast. And then when I came to Texas, when the pandemic hit, then I was like, well, maybe I just need to cast me some Texas folks. So then now I'm casting the Texas folks, but I think I'm going to do a little mix and match, right? Because I'll have a couple of people in different places. And that way I can say, hey, my Dallas person can't do this for Dallas. Let me fly this person over here. Or if we go to, DC, then let me bring some people from the Virginia cast, or maybe even the Texas cast to do that. So I think it's going to be a little mix and match along the way.
That is amazing. You mentioned earlier, like sports facilities in different states, and you talked about Virginia's Boo Williams Center.
Yeah.
Well, I'm not lying. Boo Williams is my husband's first cousin.
Come on, man.
So I'm not lying. I just want you to know, right? So so we didn't think about owning any piece of that, but that's what you're saying, Fran, is so vital for our community to understand, not just to hear.
Yeah.
To understand that in order for us to leave a legacy of wealth behind, we're not going to be here forever.
That's
our
right.
parents had land.
Yes, they did.
And it was taken from them in many instances.
Yep.
And now we are just understanding what the value of owning land is, and some of us are trying to recapture that, right?
Yep.
So tell us about, I want you to give us a little something about Dough for What You Know.
So it's interesting because I came up with that moniker probably 8 or 9 years ago, and just said I'm gonna buy some domains on that because what I'm doing is actually teaching people. But everybody was saying teaching people how to monetize their expertise. And I said, well, what am I doing that's different, or how can I position it so that it's different? And I said, I know, we're making dough for which helping people make dough for what they know. And so I thought about that 8 or 9 years ago, because what I started to see was that people were speaking and training and coaching and consulting and teaching and online courses and those kinds of things, but they really didn't know how to fully exploit all of their expertise so that they could build more than just a 5-figure business, that they could really look at everything they knew, their experiences, their expertise, their know-how, their talents, their skills. If you look at that whole bundle of who you are, everybody watching us right now is sitting on at least $1 million brand, every single person. But the reality is that most people will never realize that, as in actualize that, because they don't necessarily value their experiences, their expertise, their know-how, all the things that have happened to them. And so I teach courses and I teach masterminds and events. I do live events where people come in for a weekend and actually leave with their multi-million-dollar plan to exploit their brand. So whether that's something that happened to you, I'll give you an example because I don't want to keep it general. For instance, let's say I've said to people many times, if I made a list of all the things that have happened to me in my life, one of the things that stands out is the fact that I lost my mother at age 16. If I just wanted to do one whole exploitation of grief, if I wanted to do mothers who've lost their, daughters who've lost their mothers, sons who've lost their fathers, people who've lost their parents, if I just wanted to exploit the term and the field of grief, I could build a multi-million-dollar company probably in 6 months, just on grief alone. So when you're listening to me now, let's take my basketball career. If I just wanted to do something just for basketball, forget my television career, forget my real estate, forget all that. If I just use the basketball arena, pun intended, I could create a 6-figure, 7-figure business in 6 months just with basketball. So one of the things I try to help people realize is that it doesn't matter what your life has been. It doesn't matter what you think you have and what you think you know or whatever. You got something that somebody needs. You got something that can transform somebody's life. It may not be based on a master's or a PhD. It could be just, hard knocks, living, right? just learning, just doing life more than
Doing
anything.
life, right?
Just doing life. Everybody has at least $1 million brand or business based on nothing more than their experiences, their expertise, their know-how, their skills, and what's happened to them in life. So that's what I call making dough for what you know.
So you call that making dough for what you know. I'm asking for just a little bit more insight. Like if you had one mini chapter that you could explain what you teach people to do to use what they have experienced to give them dough for what they know, what would you tell them? How would you introduce them? How would you take them through the process?
Well, the first thing I would say, one of the things that we do is use something called my PIE exercise. And so that's to take your passions, your interests, your expertise, and your experiences, right? So literally just using the acronym PIE to make a list of at least 50 things that you know, have done, or experienced. That's the first thing. Once you get that master list of what you know, what you've done, or what you've experienced, right? Any skills that you have, then you start to delve into kind of where your heart is connected. Because just because I could talk about and build $1 million company on grief doesn't mean that I should do that, right? Just because I know how to doesn't mean that I should. So now we start to talk about alignment. Where are you most aligned? Are you most aligned with your basketball career? Are you most aligned with entrepreneurship? Are you most aligned with financial literacy, or whatever? Now we're talking about aligning your heart with what your purpose is, right? You got a list of 50 things, but you're not going to do all 50 of those things. More than likely, you're going to probably pick 5 that you feel like you can really, that might be your calling, might be your divine assignment. So you go do that. And then what I tell people to do is to actually kind of put some feelers out there, like you're fishing. So let's throw some of that stuff out there on your Facebook page, on your Instagram thing, on your Twitter, your TikTok, or whatever. Start talking about those topics that you feel aligned on, and see how people start to respond. Now, again, talk to people from a standpoint as to what your expertise means for them, not just talking about you. But like, you know what, guys, it was really tough when I lost my mother at 16. She, wasn't sick. She wasn't ill or anything like that. I went to Mexico. The next day she died. Has anybody else out there lost a parent? Boom. Now what I'm doing is fishing. I'm fishing. I put that out there. Yes, people are going to be like, oh, girl, I know what you mean. Men are going to be like, yeah, I lost my dad. Now you're starting to get some groundswell and some activity around a topic that not only you know a lot about, but that you are closely aligned with, and maybe you feel some tugging and some pulling with that. So that's kind of a short overview of some of the exercises that we do to get people from this big overview, this big list of 50 things that they could do, to a smaller list of 4 or 5 things that they should do.
And now that is so wonderful how you explained it, how you take people through the process and show them sometimes they don't even know their own value. Is that right? And so I have a person in my life that uses this quote that says, when you don't value your value, then your value is not valuable. When you don't value your value, then your value is not valuable. Thank you, Dr. Eric Kelly III. So he would know that I gave him credit for that. Yeah. But it is so amazing. James Snipes, go ahead and ask your question, because I'm gonna give you the floor in a second. There are so many people out here that are asking questions. James Snipes wants to know, when are you going to be back in Northern Virginia?
Oh, good question. My niece, this is going to make you laugh. My niece is coming to the Boo Williams Center this weekend for a tournament. So it's funny that we were talking about that. Yeah, Journey's coming there and I'm not coming with the family this weekend. So it'll probably be the summer. Maybe when we bring Rappers Delight there, which may be in August or something like that, that I'll be back for the production of my play.
So you got to let me know so that I can hype it up here on the Barbara H. Smith Show that the play is coming, Rappers Delight. I can't wait to see it. So what else? How do you, with all this stuff going on in your life, how do you get downtime? What do you do to relax? What do you do to chill out?
Yeah. Well, here's what I started doing on March 8th, 2020. So I was in Virginia. I came to Texas because a good teammate and friend of mine was having her jersey retired at our alma mater, the University of Texas at Austin. And the pandemic hit. So I came in, flew in like early bird flight on the 8th of March. And I'm from Texas, but I was working on the project in Virginia. So I just stayed here. I stayed where I had come from when the pandemic hit, because I couldn't go anywhere. And so I started walking every day, like that Monday, the 9th or whatever it was, I started walking. And from March 8th to 2020, for the most part, I would say maybe one day a week that I started walking every day. And at first it was just like a stress reliever because I used to work out. But then it became my peace time. It became my thought, my reflection, my prayer, my meditation time, because there was usually nobody out there. And then we started seeing those people that you see when you walk on trails and that kind of thing. And it's been the most wonderful thing, because there aren't many things that I do every day, right? People think, oh, you're an athlete, you must be extremely disciplined. I'm like, oh, all right. I mean, there are things I do every day, but I started doing that every day, and it changed not just the way I felt physically, but it changed where I was mentally. And so that's how I unwind. And even now, right now, it's hectic. I'm learning things, with Electra and retail, things that I didn't know. And sometimes it's a little stressful because I'm a woman who knows a lot of stuff. And I'm sitting here today. My brother called. He was like, what are you doing? You got 15 minutes. And I was like, no, I'm a little stressed. I'm trying to learn something that I really should know how to do, but I really don't know how to do it. So I'm really stressed. And I just got up and went for a walk and came back, and it just clicked, So I didn't know how much I would enjoy just chilling and walking and just not being attached to anything. But that's been the thing that's helped me the most for my mental health for the last year or so.
So that I want everybody to hear that we have to take time and we have to have that mental break so that we refresh, re-energize, right?
Yep.
Well, listen, I don't want you to go anywhere. We're going to be right back right after this commercial break. Don't you go anywhere. Hi, I'm Barbara H. Smith, known as the Masterful Presenter. If you could figure out a universal language, personality code that connects with potential client, how powerful would that be? I empower people to communicate better what they do, what they have, and what they bring to the table. People love to buy. I don't need you to sell it to me. I come in there with an intention, and that's what you're going to do going forward. You're going to go into networking events with intention.
I am here benefiting from the wisdom of Barbara Smith.
She gave so much information on how I can just excel in my business, and I'm taking it to a whole nother level.
I'm learning a lot that I didn't really know about my business.
The information that she's been presenting has been informative and helpful to me.
If you have not been in the presence of Ms. Holmes Smith, you need to make sure you do so. Her workshops are authentic. She comes with such training, and she just graces you with her presence, and she allows you to feel the experience like none other before.
Yeah, and we're back. So we're talking today with Fran Harris. I met Fran a couple of months ago, maybe a month ago, an awesome event called the Black Business Expo, and we hit it right off. And when I asked her to come on the show, she was like, yes, I'm in, when we got to be there, and all of that. So I just want you to know that you are a phenomenal role model for a lot of people. And James Snipes has this question he wants to ask. He helps mentor lots of individuals pass the IT cybersecurity certification for free because he truly wants them to be better than he is. Should he charge for that and plans on establishing an LLC? Your thoughts, Fran?
Is this thing on? Yes, he should. He should. He should. I love when people go, is this thing on? Yeah, of course it's on. Yes, he definitely should charge for that. And here's the thing, James, people who pay attention. It is just the way it is. It's the way we've been conditioned and wired. And yes, do I appreciate complimentary stuff? Yes. Do I appreciate things when people give it for free? Yes. But when I pay attention. And what that means is that when people invest in themselves and when people, do an exchange, there's an actual exchange of information and then currency. All of that's currency. My expertise is the currency. I'm going to give you the currency of my expertise, and you're going to give me the currency out of your bank account. It's a fair exchange. And so it is really important that, yes, while you can have something that's free, you can kind of have that appetizer motif, if you will. it's always important to give people the opportunity to upgrade their experience. So you absolutely should be charging for that expertise. And the interesting thing is that some people are waiting on you to charge for it. Like sometimes we think that people are just so happy, to get this free information, but they are waiting to up level. And so you are doing a disservice to them by not offering them an extra experience, an elevated experience with you. And now what you have to do is just figure out what that elevated experience is going to be, because there are always going to be a percentage of people who have been waiting on it and are ready to invest in themselves with your experience.
And that is a great point. There's a great point because, listen, this guy, I want to talk about him for a second. James B. Snipes III was one of those students in my information technology class who would always go above and beyond until he didn't go above and beyond. He was hanging out with some friends and he didn't always do what I asked him to do. So one day I pulled him to the side. I said, listen, you are one of the smartest guys in this class. And now, James, I want you to drop your credentials in the chat because I want to give a shout out to you. And now he has gone above and beyond any of the wildest expectations that even he had for himself. He gives me some credit for that, but it was all him. Mm-hmm. And that's what I do. I see the diamond inside people and break it away, break that coal away from them so that they can see the diamond in themselves. Mm-hmm. And that's what I love about what you do. That's what I love about what we do as coaches, as mentors, as teammates in this whole self-development as well as personal development. Mm-hmm. So, James, you heard it first from Fran Harris. Get your money, baby. Get your money.
We're afraid of that. We're afraid of, we don't see the value. I remember the first speaking engagement I had where I started to realize that I could monetize just who I was and what I knew. I was a sophomore in college. And at that time, the NCAA would not allow student athletes to be paid. That's about to change this fall, thankfully. But literally, if I would go and speak somewhere, it was just like, oh, thank you so much. Come to a game. And I remember speaking, I think it was at Dell Computers with a group of CEOs or department heads. And I said, I know you couldn't pay me for what I did today because it would be a violation of NCAA rules. But if you could have paid me today to talk about championship team building and leadership, and I'm 19 years old, literally 18 or 19 years old, how much would you have paid me today? And the CEO said, about 10 or 15,000. I said, 10, 15,000 what? He said, $10 or $15,000? I said, really? He said, yeah. He goes, we have people, we pay, they're not nearly as good as you, and we pay them $10,000 or $15,000, And I started to realize that people literally, y'all, would pay me for my story. I had no training, other than growing up in church and doing speeches and Easter and all that stuff like that. But I had no professional training. They called me to come in and talk about leadership, championship team building, culture at 18 or 19 years old. And they would have paid me $10,000 or $15,000. So it's not about the degrees. That helps. I'm not going to say that it helps to stack a little more paper on your thing, but it's not about that. It's about your expertise, your knowledge, the transformation that's going to happen after you leave a place and you're speaking somewhere or you're coaching or you're training. So you have value. Other people know it. They already see it. And you can't be afraid to go get that money. You can't be afraid to say, when someone says, so what's your fee? You can't be afraid to say $25,000.
Yeah, reverse it in the mirror.
Yeah, absolutely.
Sandra Lucky has a question. I want you to respond to her. What would your response be for people that say, if you don't have papers, your hard knocks life is not to be taught for pay?
I say that's a lie. That's a lie. Did you see the movie The Pursuit of Happiness? I mean, oh yeah. With Will Smith, that guy was just working to get to wherever, to just hard knocks or whatever. So I think it is a misnomer that you need a degree to make an impact in the world, because you don't. Some of the people that I've learned from, whether it's financial literacy, whether it's business literacy, spiritual literacy, they're not they're not doctors, they're not ordained ministers. They were just people, as my mother used to say, who had good sense. So I'm listening to the people with good sense, and I'm listening to the people who make sense, right? And so, no, I mean, you don't need degrees. You don't need letters behind your name. Those are meaningless every single day. That doesn't mean that they aren't worthy, worth pursuing, because they are. But
They are.
I'm not going to stop doing something or not apply for something or not enter the room because I don't have a certain credential that makes other people go, "Ooh, wow, but that's, whatever." I'm impressed by results. I'm impressed by the results that people get.
And my buddy James Snipes also has put up what his education is and his job. Now he's head of cybersecurity. He's the director. Right. He's the director, and soon to have his PhD, which just shows that you can go ahead and pursue what you want, but it doesn't necessarily mean that that's going to stop you if you don't have those credentials.
Yeah, love it. Right? I love school. Yeah, I agree 100%. I love school. I have multiple degrees because I legit, as a millennial say, I legit love school. I love learning. So it's nothing for me to do certificates or whatever. That's how I grew up. And education was really important to my parents. My mother dropped out of school when she was 11th grade. My dad didn't even finish high school, middle school, or whatever. So education was really important in my family. And I grew up learning and loving learning. So I don't get degrees because I need degrees. I get degrees because that's what happens after the end of 2 years, because I've loved learning so much. Oh, and I got this too. Let me tell this really quick story that really illustrates that. The last degree I got, I went to business school a couple of years ago for a technology commercialization degree. And I decided when I was going into that program, Barbara, that I was not going to do it for grades. Now, when you're an athlete, you got to get a certain degree, you got to get a certain grade because you got to stay eligible. So I was like, I'm leaving that behind. I haven't been an athlete forever. So I'm not going to focus on grades at all. Do you know how hard it was to do that? Just simply because that's how we've been conditioned. So you get a test, you need to know what you made on it, right? So for the first, 6 or 7 weeks, didn't look at anything, literally would take a test and be like, I hope I passed, like, I hope that was good. I hope it was whatever. It was such an amazing experience to just sit in a classroom and learn without having to compare, what did you get? Oh, what did you get? And so I made it almost through the program, which was 2 years, without looking at grades. And the only time I really had to look at a grade was when my professor emailed me and was like, I don't think you finished this thing. I think what you turned in was incomplete. If he hadn't emailed me, I would not have known that. Right. And that was the first time, so I was like, okay, maybe I should start looking, because now something technically happened and he didn't get all of my work. But it was so cool just to be in the classroom and just to be free, to be a scholar in the sense that made sense to me, where I didn't have to say, well, what did you get on the test? Oh, well, I got a 90. And like that meant something anyway. So that's my whole thing. It's like, keep educating yourself, keep learning, but it doesn't have to be in a college.
And life learning is what we need to do and what we have to do in order to keep growing. My sister says this: if you're not growing and learning, then you're dying.
Yep. So
you have to be growing and learning and always refreshing your knowledge, because things are happening so fast. The information age has caused so much information to flow through us, past us, in front of us, that we have to stay on top of things. That's one of the reasons why I actually got out of information technology. I'm gonna put it out there in the universe, right here on the global stage, that I stopped. I came, I saw, I conquered. I was over it. Mm-hmm. And I got to a place where every 2 years you had to recertify. I was like, I'm done with y'all testing me. Mm-hmm. That's it. So I started teaching, because I didn't have to really refresh everything every 2 years. But we have to continue to learn. I got some questions out here. Sandra Lucky, she wants to know, if you had to pick to do one thing over in your life, what would that be?
Okay. So that was kind of easy. This came to me. So I was the last person cut, meaning, didn't make the 1988 Olympic team. And it was a complete political move. It was unfair. I was ticked off. I was bitter. I was all the stuff, like when you were supposed to get something is supposed to be yours. And then because of politics, you don't get it. So I retired from basketball at age 23. So I played a year in Italy, came back, tried out for the Olympic team, was the last athlete cut. So I was an alternate on the Olympic team, and I quit basketball. I broke up with basketball because I was that mad. And so I was like, done with it. It's like a relationship. You're not breaking my heart again. I'm not doing this again or whatever. If I could go back to that 23-year-old girl who had every reason to feel the way she felt. I never tell people not to feel the way they feel. I still would have felt the way I felt. But I would tell myself, it's okay. Come back. It's okay. You don't have to, you're not hurting them, right? Because it felt like that. Sometimes we do things and we're like, I'm going to show you, I'm going to quit basketball. That didn't hurt nobody but me. If I could go back and redo that, I absolutely would, because I was making great money overseas. It plunged me into, work, like real work. I went to Procter & Gamble and started working. I had a great career, but I should have played. I should have kept playing and just kept playing and stacked that paper and started building my wealth. I would have started to build my wealth a decade earlier than I did. And so I would go back and do that. Absolutely would.
And so that goes into our next question by James Snipes again, the third. How do you feel about building legacy? I already know the answer to this question, but I'm going to let you go ahead and answer it.
Legacy is everything. It is why I am doing this beverage company. Because I started to look, it's why I'm doing the real estate, and it's why I'm doing this beverage company. I started to look at my life and start to say, okay, what are the things that I've done? And what are the things that will easily still be here when I'm done? Well, the truth is, besides my real estate and now the beverage company, most of the other things were like, okay, well, people will know you're here because of these things, but they won't really, really, really know you're here until you build something. And for me, it was really important to something tangible, something that if it didn't have my name on it, it still came through me, right? And so for me, that was really, really important. And I got to that point about maybe 15 years ago where I was like, yeah, this is great. You made a lot of money. You built wealth through these things. You've personally invested in real estate, and now you have a nice little nest egg. But have you brought the people along? Have you truly put people at the table and gotten them eating from the buffet? For me, that's where the game started to change. When I started going out into our communities and saying, hey, this is what I'm building. Come on, be a part of this. Be a part of this. Not just my family, but my family. Come be a part of this. Everybody's not going to come along for the ride, but that invitation really started to change the vibration of things that happened for me. When I started to say, let's open this up to the greater community, your bigger family, and start inviting some of these people to the table. Same thing with Electra. So we solicit, investors for Electra. I'm always talking to people like, would you like to be, at the table and be eating with me? Then let's do it. So that would be my thing in terms of legacy. Now I have a couple of things that whenever I decide to make my transition, then you will still know that I'm here. There is a witness that I was here.
That is a beautiful thing. And as we as a community start to do more of that, the $1 trillion that's in our community right now will begin to stay in our community, which is we have allowed to leave the community because we're such consumers instead of investors. And we've got to change that trajectory for our legacy. Yeah. Black Business Expo USA is asking a question. Fran, you created a Black Business University. What is it and why did you create it?
So it's been a lot of things over the last 10 years, right? Because if you haven't seen a pattern with me, like I will think of a grand idea and I'm like, I got to do it, right? I don't need to say, oh, this got to be this, it's got to be that. I just plant the seed, and then we'll see what it turns into. So Black Business University has been a lot of things. It was like an educational portal for a few years. And now what I'm feeling that it is what I want to do is build the largest marketplace of Black expertise, Black genius. And so that means that I'm inviting every Black person who knows it. It's my Dope for What You Know University. Really, it's like every Black person, African, diaspora, whatever, however you identify as Black and brown, put your course, put your keynote, put your whatever in this marketplace so that when people are looking for Black genius, when they're looking for Black experts, right now, if you think about that, if I'm a member of the media and I go, Black experts, is there really a place that's been vetted, a place that has all of the people who are experts in astronomy, experts in theology, experts in beverage. It doesn't exist. So I'm inviting people to put their speeches, courses, talks, fireside chats into this one universe called Black Business University. And so we will relaunch that as a back to school in August. So I invite you, and you can do it for free. You can put your information in there for free.
I'm putting my information in there. And you're going to have to give us the information when it comes out. I will definitely put it up for all these folks on the Barbara H. Smith Show and Black Business Expo as well, because I'm also a part of their group.
Yep.
And a part of that magnificent organization that's going to showcase Black businesses across the world. So we were glad to have you on the Black Business Expo this year. It seems like last year already.
Last year, yeah.
A couple months ago. Mm-hmm. And it's coming up again in June, from June 7th to the 13th. And we'd love to have you on there again.
Right.
So James Stipe says, sign me up.
Great.
I think it was Sherry Bootstrap Black Hunt said, thank you for your transparency. That's so cool.
Thank
you. I had another comment earlier. Sandra Lucky said, was it love and basketball?
Kinda. Yeah, it was kinda that way. It was kinda that way. I was like, I'm done with you. You will not break my heart again. I'm done with you. But of course, you guys know that I came back and played in the WNBA. So it all worked out. I fell in love again, played on the WNBA's first championship team in 1997. So I took 7.5, 8 years off from basketball before I allowed myself to fall in love again. And it was well worth it.
And you are and still were and still are a champion and a championship player in life and in love with people. Tell us some more about your time in the WNBA.
Wow. Well, I mean, this is the funny thing about taking off all those years after I decided I was going to break up with basketball. When I came back, when I got ready to come back, because the WNBA announced that they were launching, a real league, I remember reaching out to the WNBA, and because I hadn't played, so I quit basketball one Olympic summer and never played again. So typically you play on the next USA national team, and so your name stays very relevant and whatever. So nobody knew what I was doing. They knew I was doing ESPN. By this time I was on ESPN on television as an announcer. But in terms of playing basketball, nobody had seen me on a court since 1998. So when the WNBA started, I reached out to the WNBA and I was like, hey, yes, I'm looking for, what's happening with the league. And they were like, yeah, we remember you, but what is your interest? So I hadn't played in so long. They were like, do you want to coach? What are you trying to own a team? What are you doing? And I was like, no, I'm interested in playing. They were like, okay, whatever. They didn't say that, but that was the tone of it. Was like, you haven't played in 8 years. You're trying to tell me you're going to try to play? So I went to try out, and it was, I will never forget that it was Mother's Day, 1997 in Houston, and went there. There were 250 women trying out for 2 spots. 2, right? A lot of these women had just gotten out of college. So they're like infants. They're 24 years old. They're like, whatever. But what y'all know this, when you're an OG, and I was 31 at the time, you know the tricks of the trade. I wasn't 25, but I know the tricks of the trade. I know what coaches look for. So long story short, 250 women were there on Friday night. By Sunday, there were only 2 standing, and I was one of them. So I landed the spot. I beat out over 250 young women to land a spot on a team that eventually won the WNBA's first championship. So I felt very fortunate and blessed in that situation, especially for a girl who broke up with basketball, who was like, you know what you're not going to do? You're not breaking my heart. You ain't breaking my heart again. So the fact that I got over that, healed myself, and went back to the game that I loved, and I was able to win a championship was absolutely magical.
That was sweet revenge, wasn't it?
It was very nice. And everybody who was like, when I called them and was like, what is your interest? I was like, you remember when I called you? Because I'm that girl. Be like, just so you know, remember when I called you? I'm that girl. Remember when I called you when you tried to act like you didn't know who I was? You tried to act like, yeah, it's me. Bam, there's a ring. That's kind of how it was about that summer.
Sandra Lucky said they didn't know whose skills they were trying to sleep on.
Exactly.
Don't sleep on my skills.
Don't sleep on my skills. Exactly. It was great.
That is amazing work you've done over the years with your career and your life, and how you've encouraged so many people along the way. I like most of all that not only are you leaving a legacy, but you're asking and inviting our community to come to the table. How amazing would it be if we got everybody on that same plane and that same bus?
Yep. I do see a lot of people who, and we all know people who are getting theirs and then telling other people about it after they got theirs. Right? After they've eaten, they're like, oh, you didn't know I was feasting over here. And what made me really realize that was probably, I don't know if it was like 8 or 9 years ago. I was teaching something online, and one of my first cousins said, maybe second cousin, I'm cousins with his mom, but he said, I didn't even know you were doing this. He said, why haven't you taught us this? Whoa, that was like, wow, that hits me really hard.
It hurts.
It did. It did. He was like, and it was on like Facebook or something. He was like, Fran, I didn't even know you. Why haven't you taught us this? I was like, whoa. And that changed. That took me, that leveled me up to another level, because then I was like, because we all know sometimes people say, well, girl, don't try to get in business with your family. Don't try to whatever. And I had to break that conditioning, because I have family members that I'm very good friends with, and I have family members that I'm not very close with. But I had to break the conditioning of don't invite your family in because it's going to destroy your relationships. And I had to realize that relationships have to be built on stronger foundation, and, put it out there. And if people want to be a part of it, be a part of it. If they don't, whatever. And so that was kind of like the leveling up also of my transparency. Like, let me tell you this, don't put your baby's, diaper money in this. Don't put your last. So you have to be very clear with people. These are decisions you're making, but let me tell you, there is risk here. There's whatever. But yeah, when my cousin said that, I was like, okay, I hear you. God, I hear you. Like, I hear you. Like, I was doing stuff that nobody in my family had ever done. And yet my immediate little family knew all about it, and they're great and they were in it. But that next level of family that I could have, that I am now, truly transformed and changed their lives. But because I was holding this to my immediate little, people who got the same mom and daddy that I have, they were getting it. But that next circle needed it as well. And
it's a ripple effect. So
absolutely,
drop that pebble in, and you wanted to have those concentric circles.
Yep.
We got comments out here. Showbiz62 says, I have thoroughly enjoyed how the sports women have been talking about issues, whether it's coach in Arizona talking about being a working mother coach, or players on BLM, Black Lives Matter.
Yep.
And that is amazing that you have that comment. It just reminded me that there was a conviction today.
Yeah. Yes, there was. And before we got hopped on, I was getting ready to post my little statement. What's interesting, once you start to accept the responsibility that your voice matters, sometimes I'll be like, nobody needs to really hear what I have to say about that. And then that other voice says, there are people who need to hear what you have to say, and it's not for me. So what happened today, I was like, great, proof, it's a good start. That's how I feel about what happened today. It's not the end all. It's not justice. It's accountability, as some people are saying right now, but it is a good start. And the thing that I always say is that bad things happen. Bad people get to continue to do bad things because good people are silent. And so if there's anything, whether that's in your relationships, witnessing something in your neighborhood, bad people are counting on good people to keep their mouths closed. And so if you don't do anything else, speak up, talk up, make sure you are getting involved. Today was a good day, especially for the family of George Floyd and for the greater family of people who look like George Floyd.
That is absolutely true. And I echo and ditto exactly what you say. It's not a victory dance.
Yep.
It's a small pebble in a pond. We'll take it.
Yep.
But what has to happen is a transformation in this country, that our brown, Black people have value. Our lives do matter. Yep. All lives matter, but until Black lives matter, it's a moot point.
Mm-hmm.
And so you heard it first right here on the Barbara H. Smith Show. We are happy for the Floyd family, and we are happy for the conviction. But we've got a lot of work to do, folks. Don't sleep. don't sleep. It's not over yet.
Yep. You know what I wish? I wish that we could be as outraged out there as we are on social media. Oh,
Right.
we mad on Facebook. We're mad on, I can't believe this, but when I ask you to come and vote, when I ask you to come to the Million Woman March, when I give you these opportunities, you got all these excuses. And I realize that some of us do get involved, but I'm just saying, if we were as outraged out there as we are in here, we would change this this time next year.
Well,
But yeah, go ahead.
yeah, but it's easier to be outraged on social media.
Yeah.
You're hiding behind the camera, you're hiding behind the screen, you're hiding behind the information technology.
Yep.
But it's harder to stand up and say that's wrong. And so people we all need to. When you say something, you need to say something, because if somebody says something, then things don't change.
Right.
It has been an amazing. Showbiz 62 has another comment. There is a bill after George Floyd that will radically reform police. It must have. That's a great thing that's happening right now. Again, we still need to voice our opinions, and not just our opinions. Action speaks louder than words. Show up at the poll. You don't think it matters? It matters. That is all we have for our show today. Oh, Fran Harris, I can talk to you some more. As we say in New York, I could talk to you for some more. Right now, we're going to have to get out of here in about 3 minutes. Do you have any last? I want you to give any information you want to give about anything that's going on in your life, how to get in touch with you, anything that you have as our last outtake.
No, I mean, just get in touch. I'm on LinkedIn. That's a great way to do it. If you were not here at the beginning of the show, then you didn't see the commercial for doughu.com, but we can put that in the chat, dough.com, doughu.com, where I teach you how to turn your expertise, knowledge, know-how, experiences into a multi-million-dollar brand and business within a year. It is an application process, but we will get it done. And that's simply what we started talking about this story at the beginning of the show. And that was, how do you take everything you know, everything you've done, and actually create a brand and a legacy that can be here when you leave? So check out doughu, as in dough for what you know, like bread dough, doughu.com.
That is so wonderful. And if you'd like to be a guest on the Barbara H. Smith Show, you can apply at support@thebhsshow.com. That is support@thebhsshow.com. I have had a phenomenal time with our guest today, Fran Harris. She was an amazing guest. We continue to bring you enlightenment, entertainment, business, and all kinds of fun conversation right here on the Barbara H. Smith Show. Don't you miss it next week. I'm Barbara H. Smith, your coach, your mentor, your celebrity speaker, trainer. And I will see you next week. Thank you for spending time and space with me.
Hey, it's Fran Harris, founder of Electra Sports Beverages. So excited that you are joining me right now for this live broadcast where I am finally launching my sports beverage. Now, Electra is a better for you functional beverage company that other things will come after in a few years. But right now we are launching one of the best, better for you, in fact, best for you sports drinks on the planet. Now, a lot of people will say, why would you start a beverage company when you got other competitors, huge competitors in the marketplace in this space? Well, it's a $23 billion industry. Sports drinks, $23 billion opportunity. That means there's room to play. The reality is, if it were easy, everybody would be doing it. So I'm very proud of Electra, very proud of what Electra stands for. I'm very proud of this nutritional panel back here because we didn't miss a beat. We knew that consumers were looking for better taste, higher functionality, lower sugar, fewer calories. We knew that. And I am so proud of what we have put in this bottle. It's something that you can give your kids. It's something that you can drink yourself, whether you're an elite athlete or an everyday hustler. We put some great stuff in this bottle, and I want to invite you to join me on this journey for this big online launch party. There's a lot of room. There's a lot of room to play. I'm going to get in where I fit in. I'm going to find my niche and make sure that we develop and produce products that are absolutely amazing that our customers want. So I wanted to introduce you to Electra here. So we got 3 flavors. You've got Passion Punch, you got Oh Yeah Orange, and you got Liddy Lemonade. And so whatever your pleasure is, if you like the punch taste, if you like the orange taste, if you like the Liddy Lemonade, then you can have your pleasure, all right? But I want you to get in on this because we're doing something special with Electra right now. We're launching it first time out of the gate. That means that you can get it right now at a very special price if you participate in my Indiegogo campaign. Now let's talk about what an Indiegogo campaign is. This is not a fundraiser. This is an opportunity to generate some buzz and some fun around the launch of a brand new product. And you get the opportunity to get things like t-shirts, come to some private events. It's an opportunity for you to be a part of something bigger than all of us, right? Imagine if you had been there when that other sports drink had started 50 years ago. Imagine what it would have felt like to be a part of what you knew was going to be history. That's what I'm offering you the opportunity to do right now, is to be a part of Electra's launch to the public. Now, Electra will be available online, so you'll be able to go to our website and our store and buy Electra, but you won't be able to get access to some of the prizes that you're going to get access to by participating in this campaign. And there are many, many levels that you can get involved in. You can get involved at a very low level where you just want to be a supporter. You can get involved at a different level where you get a t-shirt and a cap. You can get involved in a different level where you can come to a VIP event with me, hang out with me and my team. Either way, get in where you fit in and just become a part of this historic launch. There should be a button on this page right now. All you need to do, click that button, and then you can learn all about the different ways that you can be involved in this particular launch campaign. All right, click the button right now. I appreciate your support so much, and I will see you on the other side.